First, we're going to do a public hearing, and then we'll get into the regular agenda after that. So tonight, I'd like to call the first public hearing to order. Tonight's public hearing is on the proposed Quality of Life Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw Number 3445, 2019, and proposed zoning amendment Bylaw Number 3443, 2019, for a portion of property located at Bigger Place. So first, we'll have a report from our city planner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you mentioned, the subject of this public hearing is application to amend Quality of Life Official Community Plan and Zoning Bylaw, as I will explain in this presentation. The proposed bylaw received second reading at July 22nd, council regular meeting, and public hearing was scheduled for August 19, which is today. The report presented to council on July 22nd, which is included the full application, as well as the staff analysis, remains current, and it's included in its entirety in attachment number 1. The applicant owns a prominent and mostly vacant property at 5 Corners, as illustrated on the overhead projector. This is the legal description of the assembled properties. The entire 5 Corners and this property is at the western extremity of the downtown development permit area, which is outlined in a red dotted line. The applicant is proposing to amend the Quality of Life Official Community Plan land use map from residential to business commercial, and City of Prince Rupert zoning bylaw zoning map from R2 to family residential to C3 service commercial. Internal referrals did not reveal any issues, and Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure has indicated imminent approval after the proposed bylaw received third reading. Public notifications, as per the Local Government Act requirements, were published in the Northern View and hand-delivered and mailed within a 100-meter circle of influence. As of the date of this report, and indeed today, there were no written submissions nor over-the-counter inquiries. In conclusion, Mr. Mayor, the proposed amendment is consistent with the long-term development land use plans. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. So at this point, we'll move into the public portion. Before we get started, I'll read a statement of the chair. So a public hearing is organized under Section 464 of the Local Government Act. Tonight's public hearing involves the following in regards to a property located at Bigger Place. 1, the Quality of Life Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw Number 3445, 2019. The intent of this bylaw is to permit commercial uses on the entire property owned by the application, as depicted in Schedule A of the bylaw. And 2, zoning amendment bylaw number 3443, 2019. The intent of this bylaw is to permit commercial uses on the entire property owned by the application, as depicted in Schedule A of the bylaw. So every person present who believes that their interest is affected by the proposed bylaws shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaws. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from taking your views known. However, it is important to restrict your remarks to matters contained in the proposed bylaws. A person may make their statements in writing, as outlined in the public notice, and if received by the deadline, their presentation will be read by staff at the public hearing. If a person wishes to make a presentation at the public hearing, they are welcome to do so, provided that the following criteria are followed. This is necessary in order to allow for the recording of the public hearing process. The chairperson will recognize only those individuals who present themselves at the table and speak into the microphone. Prior to speaking, please provide your full name and be prepared to spell your surname for the corporate administrator. Please also provide your residential or business address. Should you wish to read from a prepared statement, the city would appreciate receiving a copy for reference purposes by the corporate administrator. Members of council may, if they so wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. Please note that this is not a question period at which a debate takes place. City Council will not provide any comments on issues raised, but will be in attendance to listen to the comments presented. Should no additional speakers present themselves, the chair will call 3 times for anyone else to speak to the matter, and if no one else comes forward, the public hearing will be adjourned. After the public hearing has adjourned, the council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. So that being said, then, I will call any speakers that would like to come speak to this property rezoning. You may come forward now. And I will call a second time for speakers to come forward for the public hearing. And I will call a third and final time for speakers to come forward to the public hearing. Okay, seeing no members of the public present to speak on behalf of this bylaw, I would recommend a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Niche. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. All right, I'd like to call tonight's regular council meeting to order. Recommendation that the regular meeting be suspended and the committee of the whole meeting be convened. Moved by Councillor Niche, second by Councillor Cunningham. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. I'd like to call tonight's committee of the whole meeting to order. Recommendation that the agenda for the committee of the whole meeting of August 19th, 2019 be adopted as circulated. Moved by Councillor Renhowa, second by Councillor Adie. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. First up, we have a delegation, Mr. Michael Gurney, the General Manager of the Prince Rupert Performing Arts Society, with a council update. And anyone else who wishes to join him. Welcome back.
Welcome. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councillors. My name is Michael Gurney, and 4 days ago I marked my 1-year anniversary as the General Manager of the Leicester Centre of the Arts. This facility, which is the most commodious and I think best equipped performance venue in northwestern BC, opened on May 9th, 1987, and is now in its 32nd year of operation. The City of Prince Rupert is the owner of the Leicester Centre's land and building. Under agreement with the city, the Prince Rupert Performing Arts Centre Society operates the facility. This nonprofit organization is further mandated in its constitution to, quote, foster the appreciation and enjoyment of and participation in the full range of performing arts in the Prince Rupert area. As the General Manager, I am an employee of the Society. The Society is governed by an independent volunteer board of directors whose members are appointed jointly by the City of Prince Rupert, School District 52, and others elected by the Society's membership. When I read their names, many of which I'm sure you'll recognize, it will be clear that each of them is a leader in their own right within Prince Rupert's cultural landscape. President Christy Tillman, Vice President Molly Hembroff, Treasurer Alexander Hembroff, and Directors Janet Beale, Marg Lorette, both of whom are present in the gallery tonight, Alison O'Toole, Sean Young, and Margaret Caven. Additionally, Councillor Nick Adie sits on the board as a liaison to the city. The service that each of these provides to the centre and to our community is reflective of the generosity and dedication that the Leicester Centre inspires in Rupertites. Over 100 volunteers served over the course of the last year. My vision for activities occurring in the Leicester Centre every day of the week came to fruition through 4,009 hours of bookings, the equivalent of 167 24-hour days during our last season. Between 10 and 12,000 audience members, performers, and workshop participants visited the Leicester Centre since August of 2018. Hundreds of these were out-of-town visitors as well, drawn here by the BC Annual Dance Competition and other high-profile shows. The Leicester Centre's 2018-2019 performance season represented a diverse collection of touring and local performers in genres ranging from dance to world music. It provided an opportunity to experiment with promotional partnerships and to develop new audiences in an effort to increase attendance at the shows of the Center's annual performance series. In addition to 8 touring productions, we also mounted 3 community productions, an inaugural TEDx Prince Rupert Conference. We had 3 performances of Neil Simon's play Rumors, and of course the perennial favorite, Rupert's Got Talent. Charles Hay Secondary School conducted rehearsals and performances for 9 to 5 the musical. Both dance studios mounted multiple performances, as well as the sold-out BC Annual Dance Competition. The lobby hosted weekly meetings of the Prince Rupert Toastmasters Club, not to mention the Municipal All Candidates Forum on the stage, and shows by Ring System Music Studio, the Chamber of Commerce's Business Excellence Awards, as well as regular Zumba and kickboxing classes. According to qualitative data gathered from audience members, 2018-2019 performances connected successfully with our community. The workshops and performance presented as Crow's Nest and Other Places She's Gone embodied the values of Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission and provided a platform for dialogue with members of Prince Rupert's Indigenous community. Later, Rita Corelli, who has performed in Prince Rupert before, returned in October and sparked an emotional response from those who have attended prior performances of this very high-powered singer. The musical storytelling prowess of the great Canadian songbook performers Ken Levine and Tiller's Folly, as well as J.J. Shiplet, resonated with attendees who commented that they were impressed by these artists' authenticity and connection to essential Canadian identity. The performance by the brother and sister Cheng Square duo later in the year provided an opportunity for outreach to our local schools through furnishing a select number of complimentary tickets to elementary, middle, and secondary students. The youth and vitality of these 2 performers were appealing to younger audience members who attended in the company of parents and other families. This complemented our partnership with SD52, which uses the facility each year for its Art Starts program. At various points, whether it's the Annunciation Christmas concert, the Grad Variety Show, or the Fine Arts Review, or other similar productions, every student in Prince Rupert passes through the Lester Center's doors and gets to experience, through the Art Starts program alone, everything from Dixieland jazz to flaming circus juggling. A further success from this season was the result of collaboration between the visiting artists and the Lester Center's lighting department to craft original and impactful stage designs, particularly with the Montreal Guitar Trio and Luke McMaster, 2 other performing artists. The dramatic staging augmented the performances and drew expressions of gratitude from these touring artists. Opportunities for further growth and risk-taking that were identified this season fall into the categories of audience attraction and initiatives to have visiting artists enrich our community beyond singular performances. More on that in just a moment. Of course, audience sizes fluctuate on account of other community events taking place in town, and this will be addressed in the coming season by initiating promotions months earlier, as we've already done with our season announced in July, employing all media and online vehicles available to the Centre for publicity, and engaging unique performances in genres not touched by other venues. The quality of the artists, both local and touring, who perform at the Lester Centre is second to none. And we have recognized opportunities for artist outreach, master classes, and enrichment talks to local audience to further capitalize on their presence in our community. Realizing such opportunities will be prioritized in the coming season. So, speaking of the coming season, the Lester Centre is poised to increase its offerings and define new audiences. Our strategy involves the Centre's transition from a platform for artistic entertainment to a dynamic context for active cultural engagement. This process began in the last season with, for example, the organization of the sold-out TEDx conference, which is due to be repeated in 2020. Its presenters in the spring of this year supplied provocative insight on the subject of sustaining communities, Indigenous communities in particular, and our directors recognized the need for the Centre to play a continuing role in advancing the recommendations of Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Events like the recent premiere of the Haida film Edge of the Knife are establishing the Leicester Centre as a local venue for cultural exchange and learning. Meanwhile, connections with Prince Rupert's educators and students are being given heightened priority. Through the help of corporate sponsorship in the coming season, select students at elementary, middle, and secondary schools will be provided the chance to attend season performances, not just one, but all, and interact with visiting artists. The 2 dance studios in Prince Rupert will be working with visiting dance companies in master classes. An in-house stagecraft training program for high school students is already cultivating young theater practitioners, technicians, stage managers, producers, and giving them market-ready skills. Participants in this program are already being given real-world responsibilities in the productions of visiting performers, as well as local shows. Finally, the Centre has invested to extend the reach of its programming through live video internet streaming, and select upcoming performances will be available to remote audiences, specifically targeting Haida Gwaii and outlying First Nations communities, where geographic barriers sometimes make it difficult to travel to shows. Training for the operation of this streaming system is encompassed within the Centre's Stagecraft Education Initiative, and the live pay-per-view streaming project is being undertaken in conjunction with a thorough technological overhaul of the theatre, including guest-friendly internet connectivity that encourages social media sharing, the launch of an online ticket sales system, as well as activation of new online promotion platforms like Snapchat and Instagram. We've selected productions for the coming season that complement and augment these tactics. The driving principle behind the selection of performances is the intentional infusion of paradoxes and contrasts. Risk, eclecticism, and diversities are harbingers of creativity and innovation. As much as the Centre aims to delight its audiences, its goal is also to challenge, provoke, and instigate future creators. So BC-based singer-songwriter Crystal Dos Santos fittingly will present a fusion of jazz, soul, and blues in October, blurring the lines between genres that have a proven ability to connect with Prince Rupert audiences. The 4 BC-based singers that compose the group Vivace will provide, through their artistic pedigree, all-important connections to BC cultural touchstones like the 2010 Olympics, where they got their start, as well as TEDx Vancouver, where they have performed. The Atlantic String Machine has particular resonance for inhabitants of BC's most northern coastal community. The ensemble, which is based on PEI, perform in a variety of classical and contemporary styles, reflecting the East Coast meets West Coast narrative that inspired their selection. We hope that their presence will also buoy Prince Rupert's very modest body of string musicians. Rick Scott with Nico Rhodes will represent an intergenerational collaboration as well as a blend of roots and popular genres. Canada's Ballet Jorgen, presenting Anne of Green Gables, will unite audiences in a celebration of a staple of Canadiana. And meanwhile, the ballet will appeal to members of Prince Rupert's extensive dance community, not least through artist interactions and master classes that will be offered. Our sole non-Canadian act in the lineup, Kenny Blues Boss Wayne, represents telescopic insight into the stride piano tradition, as well as blues and boogie-woogie. And this is going to be a novelty in a city of rock and folk musicians, but the resulting synthesis is likely to be both thought-provoking and inspiring. The Viva Trio is going to sustain this season's emphasis on crossover styles. These are 3 opera singers who make opera and classical music accessible to the uninitiated through a firm grasp on contemporary music as well. The Montreal-based touring mentalist and hypnotist, Spidey, is an intentional departure from the Leicester Centre's regular offerings of music and dance. His novel program of comedy and feats of mental manipulation are going to allow the Centre to reach audiences that desire interactive entertainment, especially youth. And finally, Ballet Kelowna, presenting Mambo and other works as a modern, high-intensity performance chosen to contrast with the classic ballet version of Anne of Green Gables. As with Ballet Jorgen, the company of Ballet Kelowna is anticipating occasions to share knowledge and skills with local Prince Rupert dancers. Rounding all of this out, the performers in the room will be happy to know will be a Broadway-style musical, as is the Leicester Centre tradition, and will be presented in April of 2020, featuring local talent. This ambitious season is deeply rooted, as you can see, in BC and Canadian talent. It represents a synthesis of modes, of styles, and experiences that support the Leicester Centre's bracing goal of fostering creativity, ideas, and expression. I'd like to close this update with an acknowledgement for two groups. One is the hard-working staff of the Leicester Centre itself, comprised of full-time technical director Dwayne Harrison and part-time technician Scott Langill. Their creativity is matched only by their commitment to enabling superb performance, extending the best of Prince Rupert hospitality to the Centre's users. The other group is the City of Prince Rupert itself. Through our 3-year operating agreement, which is due for renegotiation and renewal this autumn, the City provides the lion's share of the Centre's grant funding. Your staff have been responsive and generous in answer to our requests for repairs and reports of incidents. As with any 32-year-old building, much maintenance is definitely needed, and I'm sure we can collaborate further on creative solutions to such issues as the rather porous roof over the rehearsal room. However, the city's upgrades to the building thermostat system currently underway will allow for significant efficiencies starting this fall, and we look forward to that. 3 weeks ago, I participated in the Redesign Rupert planning workshops, working with leaders in this city to articulate an attractive and prosperous vision and future for this city. What surprised me most was the fact that even in a town where industrial developments dominate the news, the architects of the future understand the vitality that the arts and culture bring. It seemed to be a given that gathering places like the Leicester Centre play and will play a critical role in defining our regional identity and providing the social cohesion that underpins increasing opportunity and prosperity. Of course, this shouldn't have been a surprise. When visitors such as Alison O'Toole's students move into the Centre for their rehearsals, they immediately feel at home, comfortable, and inspired. When it comes to creativity, expression, and ideas, the Leicester Centre is like a second home for thousands of our neighbours. It is a privilege to spend my days building and promoting its capabilities, and I am grateful for every time I see each of you within its walls. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. A quick question, and thank you for all the work you guys are doing and the board as well. We really appreciate that. Do you know what the musical is yet? Are you allowed to say?
Would you like me to announce it here and now? This would be definitely newsworthy.
Well, if you're wanting to reveal it in your way, then fine. But I'm actually personally curious. But if you want to do it in a more special manner, I'm happy to allow that to be the case.
I can tell you that it's going to be announced this week.
Okay. Well, we'll wait for the announcement then.
Thank you.
Questions from council?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation and doing the great work for community. You said like booking numbers gone up already. So wondering like if our revenue gone up too with the booking numbers?
We've seen an increase in rental revenue, absolutely. The challenge, of course, is ticket sales for all of these high-priced artists that come through. And I think that with the additional time dedicated to promotion, we're going to see an increase in attendance as well this season.
Thanks for the presentation. I hear a little more about the Leicester Centre on a more frequent basis, obviously, and sitting on the board. But I wanted to just comment on what the building itself means most obviously to me, and that's come about as a result of my opportunities to not only be there as a teacher with classes of kids, but also to participate in events and as an audience member. And I think you touched on it just at the end, that it feels very much like it's our house. And I think that's the most important value to it. And I know that's shared by the young kids who dance there, who perform there, local adults who perform there, and also the people who visit there to see the shows. I think it's a tremendously important building.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We all appreciate the work you put in there, and especially the board. I think you've got some good volunteers. Every time I've attended there, it's been a pleasure to be there. And I mirror Councillor Addie's comments about it being a focal point for the community, and it's a great asset for us, and we've got to look after it. And thanks.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Reed. My apologies.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, the voice in the box below here, yeah. I just wanted to say thank you to Michael and the board, the technical staff, as well as the many volunteers that make the arts what they are today in the community. And I just want to congratulate you on a very successful year as a general manager. And thank you for taking the time to elaborate and provide an elaborate and articulate report on the art scene and the operations of the Lester Center. So I, for one, am very excited to hear the coming news, and I'm looking forward to future collaboration as well as many more prosperous years in the field of the arts. So thanks again, Michael.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we'll accept any members of the audience who wish to come and speak to council on any topic of their choice. This is a open forum to be able to speak to any topic to council. So if anyone wants to come forward, they may do so and come to the mic. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And just maybe say your name and for the corporate administrator.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Suzanne Newman, spelled Neumann. I'm up here. I'm a former resident of this wonderful city. I was born here. I was schooled here, and I left when the lure of 1986 took me to Vancouver, and never left there. Now I'm a baby boomer, retired, and really love this. Always have loved this city. Prince Rupert is definitely a place that I'd like to retire. And however, being up here, I find that it's really difficult to find housing. And I think that, I read the report of Maclean's magazine rated Prince Rupert number 46 as one of the most livable places to live in Canada. And there's no disputing that. This is a beautiful city. It's well taken care of. The people are amazing. Compared to people, as you probably all know, you probably traveled to Vancouver, you know that it's kind of crazy. And finding a place that, you can retire in where people are friendly, there's things to do. Prince Rupert's amazing in terms of recreation. There's so much to do. This city has been really good at, creating the trails. There's lots of volunteers working on the trails. There's volunteers operating at the golf course. I took a trip down to the Civic Center today, where I used to work as a teenager in the canteen, and it still has that vibe. It has a really wonderful home vibe, and I would love to retire here. I'd love to spend my money here, but I can't. I'm finding that there's no turnkey place to just come. And like most baby boomers who do want to leave the Lower Mainland, they're looking for a place, and they do. They find places, and there are lots of options in British Columbia. There's Vancouver Island, there's the interior, there's the Sunshine Coast, and people do leave. This is a trend. And there's a lot of money leaving Vancouver and going to the smaller communities. I think Prince Rupert really has a lot to offer. But we were looking for places to live, and there's no, like a condominium complex and what's really quite devastating is driving down or walking down 3rd Avenue, and the place used to be vibrant. Anybody who's been here, the ilk that I have, I don't know that many that of you have. Well, maybe one or two. I won't point. I recognize the name Bombin because I went to school with Franco. I don't know if you're related to him, but we're the same age. So, anyways, going up and down, and it used to be such a different city. Like, there was so much activity, and now it's just nothing. And I thought, oh, it would be so nice to convert some of these ex-retail places into, like, why couldn't I just like move in? Like, I'm not a squatter or anything, don't get me wrong, but I mean, it'd be a nice to just convert some of those buildings into condominiums and pick up the town, because, you know, with condominiums, you get flowers, you just get more activity, and I think Prince Rupert could become a very vibrant place again. I know that there's a lot of hope, I guess, attached to the gas companies that are coming in here, but you know, that may be short term as well. Who knows? But you know, people do live, and they want to spend their lives in a nice community. And this, and personally, I don't want to come here sounding like a spoiled brat from Vancouver, because I hope that's not how I'm coming across. But I just think that this is a really wonderful place to you know, set up and spend a really nice life. And there's so much to offer. And I would like to give back to the community that was so good to my family. And I was just wondering, and the purpose of this is actually quite coincidental. I didn't know that you guys were actually meeting today. I'm only here for 4 days. I'm heading back out again. But I'd like to take this opportunity as a courtesy, primarily just to ask what, if anything, the city is doing to attract baby boomers who could really increase the potential property tax base of the city and generate some activity back in the city. And as far as healthcare, I did a lot of questioning about healthcare. Prince Rupert used to be quite was the center, like the regional hospital was a center for healthcare for the communities outlining areas for Haida Gwaii and for Lac Sequam, all those individuals coming in. And I've you know, got my ear to the streets, pretty much saying, well, you know, there are some things that are lacking and some things that are still here. We have an orthopedic surgeon, but we don't have eye care. You know, with an aging population, eye care is really quite important. They have to go to Terrace to get that, and that's one of the things I think that if you can bring more people into Prince Rupert, that might generate more interest in bringing more of those people, more healthcare professionals into the city as well, and then boom, boom, and it just snowballs. So, anyways, I don't want to go on. I just wanted to find out whether or not the city, whether the council is doing anything, is looking at trying to attract retirees coming home.
Well, thank you. And I'm glad you popped in, because it's actually great timing, because actually we have a new initiative to attract folks just like yourself, because that's part of our plan, is to repatriate ex-Rupertites to want to move home. I mean, when I moved away for university after high school, I never thought I would move back to town, because as you know, the mill closed and the forestry sector died off, and same with the fishing, and the Rupert experienced a collapse in 2000, and you know, I graduated high school in 2003, so I completely understand that feeling of, you know, this place has potential. But where we are now, is we have a variety of new processes under place, and one was Michael Gurney mentioned is Redesign Rupert process, where we're bringing the entire community together to essentially mobilize action around housing, around new downtown, waterfront development, because we know for sure that over the next 10 years there's going to be about 2,500 to 5,000 new jobs coming to Prince Rupert that are port-related, which means we need to build 5,000 new units of housing, which means we know there's going to be 5,000 to 10,000 more people moving to Prince Rupert over the next 10 years. So if we're going to have this type of growth, well, we need a livable community, and we need seniors housing, we need youth housing, we need low-income housing, and we need homeless shelters and homeless housing as well. So in the last couple of years, we've approved, I think, about 300 units of new housing development. But one of the challenges with Rupert is we're up in the north, we're isolated, we have Muskeg. It's a challenge to develop. So we're working on new policies to try to get incentives for seniors housing and things like that. So we're definitely in a place of mobilization around these issues now. And it is sad to us to see 3rd Avenue the way it is now, but we're taking action by partnering with the Port and DP World and other partners here to make sure that we all can band together to make sure that we can make a livable community. And we're also going to be embarking on a recruitment and retention campaign where we're actually going to start trying to attract people from out of town to start moving to town. But we can't do that unless they have places to live. So the whole issue is a multi-pronged issue, and we have a variety of plans underway with that, and we've hired a team of experts that have come to help us plan and design this next phase of Rupert, we'll call it. And so that's all under this Redesign Rupert brand. And so we're hoping that in the next couple of years here, we're going to see new housing. We have some new seniors housing coming online here this year. We hope to have some new developments like that as well. But like you're saying, it's someplace in the mid where we have an issue right now where we have seniors who own homes in town, big homes, and now they're on their own and they want to be able to downsize and move into, say, a condo somewhere and be able to have just something a little bit
Right.
more manageable. And the same thing if we had people moving up here. So those are kind of some of the focuses of our redesign. And so there's a lot to unpack with what you're saying. And we've heard it over and over and over again over the last
I'm
few
sure.
years of us being here, obviously.
Yeah.
But on the health issue, there's definitely an issue there for sure. And Councillor Cunningham works very closely on the health file. He's on the regional hospital district, and we do know that there's issues with healthcare in the north. There's been a slow degrading of services, so we're working with Northern Health and those places to keep as many possible services in Prince Rupert, because we are also a service center to Haida Gwaii and all the surrounding First
Correct.
Nations communities and things like that. So there is a kind of a community group of people that are really making sure that the health services stay at the same level of service for now, but also increasing those services. So when we go down to meet with the province, we meet with the health minister, and we really try to advocate and fight for those type of things. They're trying to do more centralization of services, where we're trying to say traveling Highway 16 in the winter and those type of things, like the eye services, for example. I have to do the same thing, go to Terrace if I want to get something done with my eye.
Right.
So those are challenges that we're working on. But I guess the message I have for you is that we're in a positive place right now, finally, with the community, and all this great industrial development is good news. But now it's time to take that development and bring it into the community so that we can really re-coordinate and redesign this place so that folks like yourself can say, look, I really want to move home, and I've always seen Prince Rupert as home, and there's something strangely that makes you feel like this place is always home. And I'm confident in the next couple of years you're going to find somewhere that you can fit here and that a place you can live, and that you're going to want to move back here.
Great. So you're looking at a couple of years then, within a couple of years, or are you not going to?
I would say in the next couple of years, we're going to see some new housing developments. We're going to hopefully see some action on the downtown, and with our partners, with the redesign, see the investments that we need to start making to. So we're looking at a 10-year plan here, but we're trying to hit some things on the ground running here. We've already approved a couple condos that haven't been built yet, and so, council's not responsible for building housing, but we set the development policy to make sure that there's incentives and such for them to
Right.
get off the ground. So.
And they're zoned accordingly. They're zoned for residential where they may have been zoned for
Exactly.
business before.
So we've done lots
Great.
of that.
Good.
But now we need developers to come and develop the things that they want us to rezone. So those particular issues are not necessarily in our hands, but council has greenlighted every housing proposal that has come forward. And so far we've had well over 100, and I believe 30 or 50 new units that have been constructed since we first came back in about 2014. So we're
Great.
moving from a depressed economy to a better economy,
I
but
hope so.
that's going to take some time is all. So I do appreciate you coming forward and
Thank you.
communicating that, because we hear it all the time from people that have been from here. And do you ever go to the Rupert Nights at all in Vancouver?
I have missed them. I have been out of town for those, but I know that in September there's one in Burnaby coming up.
It's
that
the 59th, I believe, annual.
59th? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I
So-
may be in town for that one, I hope so.
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna go to
those
that one.
folks say the same thing, right? It would be nice to see it. And homecoming is in May of 2020 this year. So every bunch of Rupertites are coming home. Every 5 years there's a big homecoming. So if you ever want to come up for that too, we'd love to see you there too.
Right, and Seafest, and yeah, no, we've been up for Seafest, and as my brother has as well, and his buddies. So this is definitely a place you come home to. It does feel very much like home, and I just want to thank you all for the work that you do to keep it as vibrant as it is. It's, landing here in Prince Rupert, you always see that beautiful waterfront, you see that view, and I mean, I have to go to the Crest whenever I come here just to get that, just to sit there and just look at it. It's so beautiful. Whatever you can do to keep it, and you are doing so. I mean, keeping the recreation available for people and keeping it in the good shape it is. It's just that, housing is one thing that definitely,
Absolutely.
if you're working on it, that's great. It'd be really nice to be able to come back here again. So I appreciate you listening to me.
Well, I have to say,
Thank
I
you.
know how much you love Prince Rupert, because you're only here for 4 days and you decided to come to a council meeting.
Well, yes. Okay.
So good on you.
Yeah, okay. Well, yes, I do. I've been here more than once this year, but
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. You take care.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else from the audience who'd like to come forward? Welcome.
I'll try to make it quick. We've been talking about what I wanted to ask about redesign Prince Rupert workshop and that. And so Ms. Bombin has already told me that $200,000 from last year's budget went into this. So my mainly thing, there's two areas, is we keep talking about a partnership. And so a partnership in some sense is a legal term. But I don't think when you talk about the three industrial companies and the other, so I don't think you mean it's a partnership. But so the other, but more essentially, the one I'd really like you to, so is it a partnership? But what kind of entity is Redesign Prince Rupert? I see that it says, its website says .ca, which implies it's government of some sort. So, but that's what I can't get. Is what
.ca is just a general domain for anyone can use the .ca. Just so you know.
Okay, no, but I'll ask you: is it what's council's relationship to
Sure.
it? Is it a product of council? Is it a
I can explain the structure to you. So Redesign is actually a contract with Community Futures. So Community Futures actually is the holder of Redesign Rupert. Anyone who's hired to manage the project is hired through Community Futures. We actually have a partnership with Community Futures through an MOU, which we do our contributions from. We also have applied for grants through the Real Dividend Fund, which is what's paying for our project manager. And then the partnership of the industrial partners that have come together around that, all of those funds go to Community Futures, and we administer the redesign through that. So we don't oversee it in terms of a top-down structure. It's a collaboration. And so the collaboration is the process of redesign, which is hiring the facilitators that we had come up here and do the workshops and such. So Community Futures is actually the holder of the contract, and that's where all our that's where the redesign is run from.
But it's done through an MOU. So
That's correct.
and it was sort of where I was going to, and Community Futures said no, no, no. But I was asking you, would it be subject to a Freedom of Information?
I couldn't tell you.
He said no, but I didn't. That's sort of what I wanted to clarify.
I'm not
What
sure.
kind of an organization is? So even when you applied for the rural, there should have been a resolution passed in.
And we have, yeah, we've done that already.
Is it in the
multiple
minutes?
years.
Is it in the minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, any other speakers? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn and return to the regular council meeting. Moved by Councillor Runhouse, seconded by Councillor 80. All those in favor? Motion's approved. Okay, so first up is the adoption of the agenda. Recommendation that the agenda for the regular council meeting of August 19th, 2019 be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Moreau, seconded by Councillor Randhawa. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next, item 3A, recommendation of the minutes of the special council meeting of July 22nd, 2019 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Niche. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3B, recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting of July 22nd, 2019 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Randhawa, seconded by Councillor Morrow. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And item 3C, recommendation of the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of July 22nd, 2019 be received. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Niche. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay. So first up, we have a report from our city planner regarding the application for development variance permit at 523 7th Avenue East.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On July 29th, we received an application for development variance permit for the property located at 523 7th Avenue East as outlined on the overhead projector in a red border. The variance applied for is to accommodate an entrance, a covered entrance at the front, and deck to the back. I have laid out all the variances in the report, and I'll briefly go over them using imperial measurements. In order to accommodate the deck, the front property setback, maybe I'll just make it a bit bigger. See? The front property, in order to accommodate the deck, the front property setback will be reduced from 12 feet necessary to 4.6 feet. And the side yard will be varied from 4 feet necessary to 1.7 feet, which matches the house. To the rear, the westerly side yard, again matching the house, will be reduced from 4 feet to 0.5 feet. And on the easterly side yard, again to match the house, the variance will be from 4 feet to 1.9 feet. This is an older neighborhood, and it has a number of locations where side yards are existing non-conforming. The proposed renovation will not adversely affect the neighborhood, and in addition to rehabilitating the exterior, it will extend the life cycle of this modest house, so to speak, answering some of the questions that were raised by the speaker during the petitions and delegations. The cost and budget, there is no cost and budget implications to the council for granting or not granting the variance. And in conclusion, Mr. Mayor, the application requires approval to proceed to public notifications. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Recommendation of the development variance permit application DP 1906 for 523 7th Avenue East proceeds to public notification. Moved by Councilor Renhowa, second by Councilor 80. All's in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll get Councilor Niche back in the room. Welcome back. Okay, next we have a report from our Chief Financial Officer regarding the June 2019 financial variance recommendation.
Thank you. So June variance report, the update is that operating and utility revenues and expenses continue to be on track with the overall budget. A couple variances of note are that the Cow Bay Marina revenue is lower than budgeted and compared to last year. This is a trend that is being experienced at other marinas on the coast this year. Parks expenditures is higher than this time last year, given McKay Street Park is now in service. Good weather has also meant an increase in the need to cut grass. Roads expenditures is down compared to last year, given there was less need for snow and ice control this year. Other routine maintenance has been consumed by water or sewer repairs that are currently ongoing. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Okay, recommendation that council receives this report for information. Moved by Councilor 80, second by Councilor Moreau. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the CN Corporate Services proclamation request for Rail Safety Week. Recommendation that council proclaim September 23rd to 29th as Rail Safety Week in the city of Prince Rupert. Moved by Councilor Renhowa, seconded by Councilor Niche. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, item 7B, recommendation that council proclaim November 11th to 16th, 2019 as Métis Awareness Week in the city of Prince Rupert. Moved by Councilor Niche, seconded by Councilor 80. Discussion?
I would not want to ignore the fact that there's actually a couple of things that are being asked for here. One is for support for the proclamation, which I'm in favor of. But the other piece is at the end that we raise the Métis flag, and this would be in November. And I would just like to acknowledge that that's in there and suggest that there's some complexities involved in that I think we need to explore over a little longer period of time and put some thought into before we respond to that piece of it. So I'm in support of recognizing the proclamation.
I agree. Any further discussion? Yeah. Mike.
Are we making the proclamation with the change that we will be not raising a flag? Is that,
Well, the resolution's just a do proclamation.
is it? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I just, because it does say on the bottom about raising the flag. Oh yeah, it says I encourage though. Okay.
Okay. All's in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, we have a resolution from closed meeting. Corporate Administrator, would you like to read it out?
Thank you. On July 22nd, 2019, at Council's closed meeting, the following resolution was made in regard to the Prince Rupert Library Board of Trustees. Moved by Councillor Cunningham and seconded by Councillor Rendawa, the Council reappoint Mr. Kerry Dalton to the Prince Rupert Library Board for a 2-year term, and that this resolution be released at a future regular Council meeting.
Thank you. And lastly, we have a report from our city planner regarding the application to amend the quality of life official community plan and zoning bylaw for a portion of property located in a bigger place. I'm sure you don't have anything else to add then to this. Okay, so any questions from council? So the recommendations that council give third reading to the proposed quality of life official community plan amendment bylaw number 3445 2019 and to the proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 3443 2019. Now, is this not the final adoption to this? No, just the third reading? Oh, okay, sorry. No, it's okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay. That's the, so moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Niche. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, motion or reports, questions, and inquiries from council.
A couple of things. Because 7th Avenue East is right behind my place, I've been getting a lot of inquiries about when it's going to be finished. I was shown a letter where it stated it would be finished by the end of May. They were told again the latest date was mid-August, and now it's supposedly mid-September. And these people now can no longer get their mail delivered. They have to go down to the post office to get it because the sidewalk and everything's torn up. So one, I'd like to know from Bear Creek via our staff, so they can also put it out there exactly when it's going to be done. And because I've noticed Bear Creek hasn't been on the site for 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks now. And so I don't know why they've pulled off. And the other question is, when's McBride going to get paved?
Well, I believe the 7th Avenue one, I can answer that because I was on an email chain with that from Bear Creek, answered that it would be mid-September or by the end of September that they would be complete.
Well, I
That's what
actually
they
phoned
wrote.
Bear Creek and they said they'd be finished by mid-September.
Okay, so that's what.
That's
same
what they've
understanding.
told me,
That's what
but it'd
they've
be
told
better
us
if they
too.
got it, if staff phoned them and got it officially. I was just a person phoning up and asking.
Yeah, they did put that in the writing correspondence that it was same date. Right.
Mhm.
And McBride, I would have to refer to staff.
Yeah, we were waiting for the paving to complete over on Digby, and I believe it's complete, so I would anticipate it happening very shortly.
After the rain.
The
I would like to
airport road.
wait for rain before we pave.
Yeah.
So just waiting for the airport road to be paved first.
Well, it
Yeah.
is paved, it is complete now.
Okay.
I believe that was next on the list, but that's up to our paver.
Other inquiries? Councillor Renhout?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Getting a lot of good feedback about our flowers and our gardens from all tourists and local people. So I'd like to thank our gardening staff for doing a great job. Thank you.
Thanks.
One other quick question. What's happening with our cell in the garbage dump? Like, we've known for 2-3 years that we need a new cell, and now we're forcing people to take bigger loads to Terrace. And so, you know, what's the delay? Why are we not progressing on this when we've known for 2-3 years we've needed a new cell?
The 5-year financial plan, actually, that was adopted by council this year, contemplates the new landfill cell, and it's going to be probably started next year. We have to get a loan for that, so we are going to be undertaking that. We need to do the detailed designs first before we can get a fairly good understanding of costs and how much we will be going to the public to request a loan for.
This was approved by us earlier this year, right? Yeah. Okay. Other. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Niche, seconded by Councillor Randhawa. All those in favor?